Formation of fruit and seed. A flower has four main parts: sepals that protect the bud, petals that attract pollinators, the stamen, male part, which consists of the anther and filament, and the pistil or carpel, female part, which includes the stigma, style, and ovary. Male parts, stamen, anther, produces and holds pollen. Filament, a stalk that supports the anther. Female parts, pistil, carpel, stigma, the sticky tip at the top that receives pollen. Style, a tube that connects the stigma to the ovary. Ovary, contains ovules, potential seeds, and develops into a fruit after fertilization. Other parts, sepals, typically green, leaf-like structures that enclose and protect the bud before it opens. Petals, often brightly colored to attract insects or other pollinators. Receptacle, the part of the flower stalk where the parts of the flower are attached. Peduncle, the flower stalk itself. Pollination is the process of transferring pollen from the male anther to the female stigma of a flower, which is necessary for plant reproduction and the production of seeds and fruits. This transfer can be accomplished by various agents, including wind, water, insects, birds, bats, and other animals, which are known as pollinators. Pollination can occur within a single flower, self-pollination, or between different flowers or plants, cross-pollination. How it works. Pollen is the key. Pollen, the powdery substance containing the male genetic material, is produced in the anthers. Transfer to the stigma. For successful reproduction, the pollen must be moved to the stigma, the female part of the flower. Types of pollination. Self-pollination. Pollen is transferred to the stigma of the same flower or another flower on the same plant. Cross-pollination. Pollen is transferred from a flower on one plant to a flower on a different plant of the same species. Result of pollination. After the pollen reaches the stigma, fertilization can occur, leading to the formation of seeds and fruits. Agents of pollination. Animals. Insects, like bees and butterflies, birds, and bats are common pollinators that move pollen from flower to flower as they feed. Wind and water. Some plants rely on wind or water to carry pollen from one flower to another. Humans. In some cases, humans can artificially pollinate plants, a process called anthropophily. This is also called artificial pollination and is used when natural pollination by abiotic or biotic agents is insufficient. Manual process. Pollen is manually collected and spread on the female part of the flower. Purpose. It is used to overcome difficulties in natural pollination or to perform hybridization techniques. Application. This technique can be used to increase yield and improve the quality of crops like nuts. After a pollen grain lands on the stigma, it germinates and grows a pollen tube down through the style to the ovary. The two male sperm cells from the pollen grain then travel down the tube to the ovule, where one fuses with the egg and the other fuses with the polar nuclei, a process known as double fertilization. Step-by-step process. Pollen landing on the stigma. The process begins after a pollen grain from the anther of one flower lands on the stigma of a suitable flower in a process called pollination. Pollen tube germination. The pollen grain hydrates and germinates, forming a pollen tube that grows from a germ pore. The tube elongates, and its contents, including the two sperm cells and a nucleus, travel down the tube. Growth to the ovule. The pollen tube grows down through the style, guided by chemical signals, until it reaches the ovary. It then penetrates the ovule, often through a small opening called the micropyle. Delivery of sperm cells. The tip of the pollen tube ruptures to release the two sperm cells into the embryo sac within the ovule. Double fertilization. One sperm cell fertilizes the egg to form a zygote, and the second sperm cell fuses with the polar nuclei to form the endosperm, which provides nutrients for the developing embryo. Seed and fruit development. The zygote develops into the embryo, and the ovule matures into a seed. The ovary surrounding the ovule develops into the fruit that encloses the seed. A seed's main parts are the embryo, which develops into a new plant, the endosperm, which provides nourishment, and the seed coat, which is a protective outer layer. Some seeds also have a perisperm, which stores additional nutrients. The embryo itself consists of the cotyledon, or seed leaves, plumule, shoot, and radicle, root. Embryo. The young, undeveloped plant that grows from the seed. It consists of the following parts: cotyledon, the seed leaf that stores food or helps absorb food from the endosperm for the growing plant. Plumule, the part of the embryo that develops into the shoot system, stem and leaves. Radicle, the part of the embryo that develops into the root system. Endosperm, a tissue that provides food for the embryo during germination. It often stores nutrients as starch, oil, and protein. Seed coat, the outer protective layer that surrounds the embryo and endosperm. It protects the seed from damage, dehydration, and pests. Other parts. Perisperm. In some plants, this is another tissue for storing extra nutrients. Hilum. A scar on the seed coat where it was attached to the parent plant's fruit or stalk. Micropyle. A small opening near the hilum that allows water to enter the seed during germination. Stages of plant's life cycle. The life cycle of plants starts from the seed form, which is buried in the ground through different methods. It germinates and gives rise to the first leaves known as seedlings. Following this, the growth of the plant continues, and it reaches a mature stage. Then it pollinates, seeds are formed, and that species gets an opportunity to continue survival by commencing the life cycle again. There are 5 main stages to the plant life cycle: 1 seed, 2 germination and seedling, 3 becoming mature, 4 growing flowers and seeds and undergoing pollination, 5 dispersion of seeds.